We're good.
All right, we're live. Tim, this is serious.
Brian, man, it's so serious. I broke my wrist the other day, man. We were
All
arm wrestling.
right,
Come on,
Tim,
man.
tell the story. Tell the story what really happened, how you broke your arm.
All right, so everybody knows I broke my arm. I was herding some goats, and the last goat, her name was Flower. It's now Rogue. To tell you what her name is.
You
She
changed the goat's name?
Yeah, goat's name got changed, man. It's just not good because
You
she's
changed it from flower to what?
a rogue. ROG.
Rogue?
Yeah, she's a beast.
Because it made you break your arm.
Yeah, she bucked me in moving it from one to the other, and I fell. And Brian broke the wrist. Ching, 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 ching. So surgery on Friday. We'll see what happens. Yeah, we'll get there. You know how life is, man. It keeps rolling,
You're
right?
gonna remember that goat forever because you're gonna be like 80, and every time you're gonna be like, it's getting ready to rain. I could tell because of my wrist from that stupid goat. You're gonna be that guy.
Dude, I broke the left hand like 30 years ago. So been there, done that. You know how it is. Look, it's an adventure, Brian, right? Come on now.
I don't like animals, Tim. I don't mess with. I mean, I have a dog. I
Right?
don't dislike animals. I'm not an evil man, but I
You
don't like
respect
any
it.
kind of animal that can hurt me or is bigger than me or farm animals. I didn't grow up on a farm. I mean, I'll stick my hand in a fish and all that stuff. It's like
Right.
but I don't know. I wish you the best, my friend, with the goats.
I'm there. And it's funny, I'm right-handed, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I'll make it. Not a big deal. Hey, let's jump into the marketplace. What are you seeing, Brian? What's going on, man?
Well, so I headlined this broadcast. This is serious this time. This is not as fun and lighthearted. We're not talking about lighthouses and everything's still going to be good. I feel
Sure.
like that we're at a serious place, and that the numbers are grim, and that it doesn't feel like there's an easy way out of this situation because just to kind of cut right to the chase, people are having a very hard time adjusting from house prices going up 50%
Right.
and then interest rates going from 3 to 7%, thus causing payments to go up 50%. You're looking at a 100% increase in house prices inside of 3 to 4 years. And people are now finding that houses in general cost, compared to the median income, the highest in the history of recorded, house prices. And it is now becoming a problem. And I feel like the next shoe to drop, or the next reaction, or the next thing that's going to then be a result of this, is going to be values.
So let's address that. So, Brian, I think you nailed it right there, but it's areas that have experienced very high, intense price increases over the last couple of years that are suddenly starting to see some downward spiral, right?
So
Downward
you're referring to the house prices coming down, and
trend.
they're coming down the most in areas that went up the most.
Correct, like Seattle, Washington,
Yep.
West Coast, massive impact on the West Coast.
Right.
Even some areas, that are in the Midwest that saw just rapid rise increase. Now all of a sudden the demand has dropped, as you pointed out. Rates have basically doubled plus, from a year and a half ago. And then what's the experience has been? I mean, ultimately, is that, hey, you know what? Everybody's struggling to sell. I think sellers, if they're going to sell, they're highly motivated, right? You're starting to see that. You see that on your side.
No, I don't see that yet. I feel like there's a lag. I actually put 5 houses under contract. 5 of my listings went under contract in the past 2 weeks, and the market is still full of buyers.
Correct.
But I don't find that the sellers are feeling paranoia that they need to sell their house before things go badly. I feel like there's a lag. I feel like people are still, the greed is still left over from the previous market that we were in, and people are like over the list, over the appraisal. I get pre-appraisals. I feel like in my experience, we're not at a place where people are like, I'll take less. I just need to hurry up and get out of this house before I lose more money. We're not there yet.
Now, but I also think there are people that are out there thinking about listing, and they're like, where am I going to move up? Where am I going to go? And I think that's the other
That's everybody. So what I'm finding is the people that I'm working with are not turning around and buying another similar house. They're either moving out of state, retiring, selling an investment property, getting
right.
out of a bad situation, and renting. But I don't have anybody on I have 14 listings. None of them are going to sell their house and then turn around. Well, one is going to turn around, sell their house and buy another one. And they're having a very hard time swallowing that pill.
It's bitter. There's no question about that. So what's that tell us? It tells us really three things. Inventory is still a major issue. I mean, let's face it, Brian. And inventory is really the strength, the structure, the foundation that's going to prevent us from having an 07, 08 Great Recession from a real estate crisis standpoint. Because 07, 08, we just had a massive influx of inventory. This is not going to be the case this time, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a crash. And the only reason there's not going to be a crash is because sellers are not selling their houses.
Correct. So
If sellers could still sell their
yeah,
houses and buy another one, a lot of
right.
people would love to sell their house right now. They just don't feel like they can. And I feel like when rates go back down to 5, if this lasts a long time, when they go back down to 5, if they go down to 5,
right.
we're going to see a huge bump in the market. People are going to be like, all right, finally I can get out of this house.
So what's that tell you? So if you're looking to buy, buying today is still not a bad thing, because when the rates do drop down and you're going to have a lot of competition for those houses, what's values going to do, Brian?
Well, that's a big if, Tim, if rates go back down. And I think everybody's still has rose-colored glasses on. Can you go over some stats? I'm looking at Fortune magazine, this week, and this is for March 4th. This is 4 days ago. This week's seasonally adjusted mortgage purchase application index came in at the lowest level since not 05, but 1995. And I would also argue there was less people on earth, in 1995 making mortgage applications, right?
So 28 years. And keep in mind, a lot of the stats that we're working with are somewhat historic too, right? But this is dealing with applications. So what that tells us is the interest has waned because we saw a downward trend in rates. And then unfortunately, the last week and a half, 2 weeks, upward trend. And you saw what the Feds said yesterday, right? Mr. Powell, who was our federal governor, our federal president of the Federal Reserve, basically came out and said, look, we may have to continue to hike interest rates. We might have to, in fact, rapidly raise interest rates faster than initially announced. They're looking at inflation as being still a major factor. They're looking at unemployment still being significantly low. And what they're saying is, look, we're going to continue raising rates. Well, yeah, I think rates are continuing to go up. I think, we're in the 7s.
So let's just pause for a second, Tim. We're talking about rates that are now over 7%, and we're talking about the Fed is going to raise interest rates. Therefore, what will be the response to mortgage rates? Will they go up or down?
Mortgage rates will continue going up.
Past 7%. And at 7%, we're seeing historic low number of applications for buyers basically saying, I'm out at 7%. The payment's too high. I talk to people every day who tell me I'm out. Like I had a house I wanted to buy.
Sure.
Rates were 6. Now they're 7. I'm out. That's it. I'm going to wait. The lady told me yesterday, when they get back to 4, call me. I was like, well,
probably won't ever happen. Yeah. So cycle back though. So if you can buy now, if you can negotiate on your price, negotiate on repairs or conditions, and negotiate on closing help, that's a win-win. So that in 12 months, whatever the time frame is, when rates are brought back down to try to reinvigorate the economy, then it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about rates going up from 7. So what is the spring market going to feel like, Tim? I mean, we've seen, actually what I've seen is quite a few buyers that are interested in houses on the lower end of the market. My $1 million listing is struggling right now. As far as the number of showing it's getting, it's a great listing. It's not seeing a lot of traffic compared to what it should. So what do you see for the spring market? Do you feel like that there's going to be less buyers, less sellers, and less sales? Like what would you feel like prices are going to come down actually in spring? Because so just to kind of give you a little bit of context, not to talk over you, that May, like the second week of May is the peak of what you can squeeze out of the highest profit margin on a house. If you wanted to sell it in the second week of May, first week of May, historically, it changes every year, but I think, that's what they say. So what are we going to see this year?
So, Brian, I mean, honestly, I think we're going to see less buyers, less sellers. I think our inventory is going to be struggling. I think the high
Yeah.
end is going to see a downward trend. I think the low end, though, Brian, it's still got a massive multiple contracts and offers. So,
Yeah.
if you think what prices are going to drop down, yeah, anything above 700 most definitely is on a downward trend. But, Brian, anything 3, 4, 5 is still multiple contracts, a lot of activity. So, I don't see that being an issue because there's a lot of pent up demand. There's a lot of first time home buyers. There's a lot of people who have seen some significant increases in their income. And Brian, let's face it, average sale price of a house, a decent house, what, 500,000?
Well, I want to just speak to that pent up demand. I think with the lowest number of applications since 95, I think we're finally seeing the demand start to wane a little bit.
Correct. But I'm going to reverse this on you. You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
Rentals spiking. Okay. I mean, we have Section 8, which is our public housing, right? I just heard the
Mm-hmm.
other day that in one of the counties, they're saying they're going to offer 1.2 times the average rent. And remember, Section 8 is guaranteed rental, right? I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
essence. So
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about if a normal rental on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house was 2,400, they're going in and saying, hey, listen, we'll pay $2,900 for that same house. So the price pressure is significantly on that rental market, that number one. Number
Mm-hmm.
two, even though rates are a little higher, still that payment is comparatively to the rental is still significantly lower. Okay. So yeah, rates have gone up. Rents have gone up, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you mirror the two, Brian, it's still, I hate to say it's cheaper to buy,
It
right?
is cheaper to buy, but I still feel like that the motivation level of buyers and sellers now has to be equivalently very high. People are not going to
Yep,
casually go into this market. So I feel like it's tough for buyers.
right.
It's tough for sellers. It's tough for lenders. It's tough for realtors. It's literally tough all the way around. I mean, I would argue that sellers are still making record profits. If you're holding on to a property, it seems like you could still get record profit, for it if you look at the big picture. But other than that, I feel like that a lot of sellers are having to pay buyer closing costs, look
Correct.
at price reductions. I know we're saying multiple offers, but that's on certain listings. Like when I and certain realtors, right? When I look at the market, I'm looking at price reductions, price reductions, price reductions. The highest level of price reductions in a very long time. I want to say over 35% of houses are doing price reductions, and 30% of houses aren't selling. So we're looking at, a lot of, it's now becoming more and more challenging to sell your house.
It
I
is.
think greed does have something to do with it when people are still holding on to, well, my house was worth this or that. But I do feel like it's something that is now newsworthy. I feel like that the housing market is legitimately challenged at the moment and is going to get worse. And there's not a lot of good news.
No, there's not. Well, there is some good news. I'm gonna throw a little piece of pie to you. Ready? So at the same equation, last couple of years we had a massive influence of what I call online buyers. Your Zillow, Open Door. The programs that were out there. They were just snapping houses away from buyers before they could even look at the houses. And I think that era is gone. You
Yeah.
see how much that whole industry, whether it's the Zillows, it's the Redfins,
Yeah.
any company was out there buying massive amounts of housing and pulling it out of the inventory. That's gone away.
Yeah.
Okay, and in fact, most of those companies now that own that multiple housing are putting those houses on the market. I saw a house, I don't know what the company was over in San Francisco, and they originally listed it for 2.4 million, and it's down to 1.7, and it was bought through one of these programs. They're taking massive losses on houses that have been purchased. That means that inventory should be coming back on the market. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel. I still think it's a great time to buy. Number one, I think if you're an investor, Brian, there's some major opportunities from the rental return standpoint, right? I think the motivation is there to buy, and I think we need to look at the long term process and recognize that when and if rates do come down, they'll be able to take advantage of a significantly better payment. So I still think it's a great. I'm Mr. Optimism. We always talk about this, right?
Yeah.
I still think it's
I feel like that if I had a daughter or a son, I have 3 daughters, so I have a daughter who's
and
of the
you have a
age.
son-in-law, right?
Yes.
There you
And
go.
they were considering buying a house last year, and they were like, "No." And I said, "It sounds like I'm being self-serving here, but you need to buy a house now." I'm gonna tell them I don't know if now's a good time to buy a house unless
Well,
you let me help you find a good deal. But just
and there
going
you go,
straight out
Brian.
on the
Yeah,
market, I would say it's going to be very tough for you right now. And then the other, as far as sellers are concerned, if I had my mom or dad or one of my kids was selling a house, I would say, I would sell your house. I would sell it right now. I would literally do whatever it takes to get it on the market because I feel like that if rates continue to go up,
right.
the next thing that's going to happen is it's not going to be huge, but we will see prices coming down. We will see values coming down. People are going
Sure.
to lose money by waiting. That's my take on everything because I feel like at 7% of most of the market is like, I'm out. I'm out. So now we go to
That's
seven and a
classic
half,
business. Yep.
8%. And the other thing is there's not a lot of smiles at the settlement table when you're signing the papers and you're paying 8% on your mortgage. That's just the way it just is. It's just tough out there.
Well, at the same time, you've always said to me, you said, when is the best time to buy? And you and I always talk about this, and it's number one, when you're able, number two, when it's within your budget, right?
Yeah, it's whenever it's personally good time for you to buy a house, but I think a
Yeah,
lot of people are having a very hard time swallowing these new mortgage payments. And again, historically, houses cost more than they ever have.
right.
So it's not manufactured, it's not in your mind, it's real. Houses are very expensive. Eggs are very expensive, cars are very expensive, and houses are very expensive. And of all those things that you pay for, your house is your largest expense.
It is,
And
but and if your rent's even higher, Brian,
Yeah, well, that's the other
yeah,
thing. I told a guy the other day we were looking at what you can rent. Where
right.
was this at? It was in Glen Burnie. I said for $2,400 you get a 900 square foot dumpy Rambler. I said I would live in my camper. I would get a boat. I would live in my car. I
Sure.
would not pay $2,400 to live in a dumpy
No.
Rambler. Uh, because that's just crazy to pay that much money. But that's the way it is, guys. So that's the news, everybody. The market is definitely stalling. It's definitely having some challenges. It's not a lot of high fives in the real estate world right now. Everyone's struggling. But the realtors and lenders who are committed to providing good service, doing a good job, and helping people throughout this process are still going to be able to survive through it. But sales are down, the market is down, and it's tough out there, Tim.
Tough out there, but
And
you know what? Tough times never last, but tough people do, my friend.
yes, sir.
There
Especially
you go.
like you get out there, get yourself some goats,
Yeah.
and
Just be careful that one that you
and
named Flower. I mean, just not a
is
good
that the first one you're gonna eat if times get hard, Tim? You're gonna eat
no.
Renegade or what's the name of it?
Rogue.
Rogue.
We call her Rogue now. She's my rogue sheep, rogue goat.
You
Yeah.
eating that one first?
You know what? I would be tempted. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah. That would be
What do you do with the goats? Let me just before we wrap up, Tim.
yeah.
What do you do with the goats?
My goats
Are
are
they
my
cutting your grass or what are
yeah,
they
they're
doing?
my lawnmowers, man. They're my weed
But
control.
what do you
Come on,
have them
man.
for? Are you gonna eat them? Are you
No,
making milk out of them? Cheese,
no.
doing goat cheese? Are
They're
you
my
just
they're
looking at
my
them
weed they're weed control number one, and then number two down the road, if I decide to breed them, it's an opportunity there, and we can always
for what? Pets? I'm
pets.
not a farmer, so help me out. Why do you need a
Sure.
goat? Like, why do you want them? Why do you have
Uh,
them? And why
it,
do you have more than one?
well, I live on a farm, Brian. Come on, we talked about this. I live on a farm.
Okay.
Honestly, it's
If
weed.
I bought a farm, I wouldn't buy goats. So you got to help me out.
What
Help
would
me
you
out.
buy?
Nothing. I would buy nothing.
So yeah. So goats
I'd
are
buy
very.
I'd buy a side by side, a golf cart, and a four wheeler. That's what I would buy.
There you go, man. Well, I bought 8 four-legged ones instead. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. So tell me, why do we have 8 goats though? Just help me understand.
No, seriously, weed control number one, and
Okay.
and they're phenomenal when it comes to clearing areas, keeping things under control. Number one, okay. Number two, more importantly, down the road they could be used for breeding. They could be used for food. Cheese,
Are
milk.
you going to use them for any of that?
That's a possibility, man. We'll see. Hey, we'll see how this housing industry goes, man. Think about it, right?
Yeah. So you have these, and so you can make money by breeding them to make other goats for what? People that just want goats, I guess.
Like for goats, yeah,
But you
exactly.
have 8 of them. That seems like, well, I mean, you do have like a lot of land.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, and you know what? I let my little soldiers are doing their job, man. They're out there.
Do you have one of those like playgrounds where they get on top of, like, they climb way up in the air and
I was
stand
going
on?
to build one this weekend, but I got a little bit of a setback, as you can kind of tell. Yeah.
So the goats just have to walk around the ground like normal goats.
Well,
Do they have horns? Is that a ram?
dude, no, they have horns. They all have horns. Yeah.
What about the girl goats? Do they have horns too?
Yeah, dude. We don't, dude, there's
I don't
no
know a lot about farm
differentiation there.
animals.
I got to get you down
Are
there, man.
these big goats or little goats? Are these full-size goats?
Full size, brother. Come on down.
And they got the slanted eyes, like the little devil eyes, all of them, or just some of them?
Dude, no, we don't call them slanted eyes. Come on, man. They do have
No,
their
they have the sliced eyes. Their eyes are vertical.
They are vertical. It's kind of wild in a way, but man, they got great personalities. You know what I mean? It's all that matters.
All right, Tim.
All right, brother.
Thanks for sharing your
Okay,
life with us
for it.
momentarily. I appreciate you, man.
No problem. Talk to you later.
All right.